All right, well, here we are again to talk about the upcoming sermon for March 31st. We're flying through this year, aren't we? Anybody else feel that way? Like, of course, I think we probably, all of us say that every year, that it just goes by like that, but it does. Anyway, we're going to move on. Let's talk about our upcoming sermon for this week, where we're reading Matthew chapters 22 and 23 this week. Don't forget, we're reading both of those chapters. So if if you've been reading along with us, read both of those, and you'll be set for Sunday. I want to kind of talk about, just again briefly, like I do every week, what I want to preach on this Sunday. It's one of my favorite stories. It's one of my favorite passages, but it's also a hard teaching. It's one of those that it's both generous and Jesus' telling of it, but there's also some harsh reality to it as well. And that is the very first story that comes up in Matthew 22, which is the parable or the story of the wedding banquet or the wedding feast. All kinds of names. No doubt you've all heard it before, and like I've told you before, I don't try to come up with novel or new teachings. I simply try to take what's in the text and then give what I think after careful study, in talks with other good thinkers and writers throughout the years. I try to give you, my take on it. But this story is really fascinating, how it plays out, and the context of the culture in which it's given, that Jesus is telling it, the time in which he's telling it, right here at the end of his life, at the end of his ministry. How does that weigh into what he's telling in this parable? But then also, if you notice the placement that Matthew, and if you were with me, at church this past Sunday, you know that I made a big point about the fact of Matthew arranging this material in a particular way, and he's done that again. Go back and look at the parable if you've already read, or if you haven't read yet. Pay attention to this in 22 and 23. He starts with this parable, right? He comes right off the heels of the parable of the vineyard workers that we talked about last week, when the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, they go, oh, he's talking about us. We're the ones who have killed the messengers. We're the ones who are killing the son. They recognize that it's them. Then he tells the story of the parable. Then he tells the story of the wedding banquet. And then he launches into, let's call them confrontations with the religious leaders for the next, basically, 2 chapters. Go look at that and pay attention to the way that Matthew has brought this material together, and he's making a collective statement about what God is doing. God is doing something new. His kingdom is breaking in. The old order of things is going away. And if if you've been here, I've been talking about that a lot the last few weeks. And so this sermon fits right in line with that. We're not branching off and doing something completely different this week. You can see the thrust of Jesus. This very clearly fits in with kind of the end of his life motif that he's got going on. So really fascinating stuff this week. I think you're going to be, I know you'll be blessed by reading it. And I know that you'd be blessed if you were here with us to worship on Sunday. And so I hope that you can be. I hope that you will be if you're able. But if not, be blessed. Read along with us, and let try to let new meaning come into your life by reading God's Word this week. All right, that's kind of where we're going in 22 and 23. I know I left it a little bit vague. I'm still kind of crafting it myself, what I want to do. But there's really good stuff there, and I hope that you, as I've been saying all throughout Matthew, preaching this sermon series, I hope that you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear what Jesus is telling you. All right, with that, I will let you go, and I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed rest of this week.